fifth floor. Coming right up. Okay, before I totally crash, I'm gonna show you where I'm staying in Nashville in this hostel. There's a nice little thing here. I'm the only one here right now. But look at this. There's a microwave, kitchen, full-sized fridge. This is gonna be my bed. And this is one other person staying here. They're out and about right now because it's only like 7 o'clock. But I am completely knackered, as Brian likes to say. So I'm gonna call Brian and then go to sleep. Good morning, friends. It's another day in Nashville and I'm walking to the conference. But we did find some more murals. I'm back from Nashville and going to Blissdom. Just ignore that stuff in the background. That is basically a whole office. Everything you can't see over here and over there is just a total disaster because I'm working on Christmas DIY projects that will be coming to you soon as a series of videos, which I'm really excited about, but everything is a mess behind me, so just ignore that while I tell you about Blissdom. So as you saw, Blissdom hasn't been a thing for about 6 years, and this year Allie Worthington brought it back. Allie and Barbara. So I had wanted to go to Blissdom back in the day, since I've been blogging for 10 years. I had wanted to go, and about the time I was working up the courage to go, they stopped doing it. It was also kind of about the same time that I started working full-time, doing marketing and writing for a nonprofit. So all of that kind of went on the back burner, and then this last year when I started rediscovering my blog and bringing that back, they brought back the conference, and so immediately I signed up to go. Like back in February, I bought my ticket. So I've been looking forward to it since then, super excited to go, but also super nervous about it. So I wanted to tell you a few of the highlights of the conference for me and a few of my big takeaways. This is my notebook from the conference, and all of this is conference notes. So I actually, on the plane ride home, I went back through all of my notes and made like a shorter list of just practical takeaways from each talk, and it's a lot. So it was hugely valuable as a whole. They say if you can Google it, it won't be at Blissdom, and for the most part, I'd say that was pretty accurate. Also, the thing that I think sets Blissdom apart, although I haven't been to other blogging conferences to compare it to, but I have definitely been to my fair share of other conferences, but people there are so nice. Like, that was one of my big fears and insecurities with going into the conference, because I felt like everybody else who's been blogging as long as I have is making an income from it by now and has a huge following and book deals, etc. And so when I registered, at the registration table, I picked up this button that says "You are enough" and wore that on my name tag. Everybody who registered got to pick a button. They had all these different sayings you could choose from, but that one really was what I needed to remember the whole time. But it was great because there were really people of every level of blogging there. People who were just starting, people who hadn't even set up a blog yet but wanted to, or some other type of online business were just starting out, people who were really experienced in it and making six figures. It was like every range in between, but everyone was super humble and kind, which was really, really encouraging to see. You just meet people anytime you sat down at a table early for a session or sitting waiting for the keynote. One of the highlights for me was Hillary Rushford's keynote. I've been following her since back when she first started her blog, her website. Dean Street Society was like a little style blog, and she was still styling individual clients. And so I've been following her since then. That was probably like, I don't know, 2010 or something. And so getting to meet her and see her in person was so exciting for me, and I was super awkward. I'm pretty sure I stepped on her foot when I went to give her a hug because she was way smaller than I was expecting. Which I feel like that's a thing. Whenever you meet people that you know online or that you follow only online, when you meet them in person, they're so much smaller than like you imagine them. I don't know why that is. Anyway, so for Hillary Rushford's session, I decided to stop sitting in the back row on the side and instead go like right up front. And when I went and sat up front, two girls came and sat down next to me, and one like immediately struck up a conversation, was like, "So what are your biggest takeaways? What are you learning?" And we just started sharing back and forth, and she introduced me to her friend sitting next to her, and we started talking. And after Hillary Rushford's talk, which was amazing and definitely cried during it, they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go meet her, so you should come too." And so I just followed them and went and met Hillary, and Hillary signed my Elegant Excellence workbook, and it was super sweet and amazing. And then those two girls and I really hit it off, and I learned so much just from them. Okay, where was I? So that's how I met Callie and Whitney, and I will have links down below to their websites because you'll definitely want to check them out. Callie does a podcast about intentional living, and she's also an Enneagram live coach. And Whitney does organizing of all things, budgeting, house, like any business, anything you can imagine. She's the organizer for it. So you'll definitely want to check out their links down below. They were so inspiring to me, just because after like any session they were like, "Oh, let's go talk to them." And I was like, "What? You can't just like, you're just gonna go talk to them?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I asked them how they knew Allie Worthington, who put on the conference, and they're like, "Oh, we just sent her messages on Instagram to ask her a question, and then we ended up hiring her as our business coach." I was so inspired by the fact that they would just reach out to people who are experts in their field and have big followings with no sense of like, I'm not worthy of doing it. They would just reach out to them, make connections, like not in a spammy kind of a way, but in just a real kind of a way. And that was really inspiring to me because I just never had that kind of courage to send somebody like Hillary Rushford or Jordan Lee. I'll link to her down below. She taught a social media class there that was fantastic. I've just never thought of that before. And then one of my biggest, let's see, where do I want to talk about? So those were some of my highlights. Meeting Hillary, meeting those girls, and there were tons of great takeaways from every session, but there were 2 sessions that I sat in where I thought, I already know all of this. Like, I literally could have taught this session myself. But then it hit me that I know all of it, but I haven't been implementing it myself. So that was actually a really helpful gut check, because I've implemented how to have a profitable email list or how to create different products for other nonprofits and people that I've worked with, but I haven't done it for myself because somehow there was something in my brain that didn't want to treat my own thing as a legitimate business. So that was one of my big takeaways from this conference, was to do for myself what I've done for other people and use my expertise and really own my expertise in that. It was really helpful for me to remember and put that into perspective, that I have done it before and I've done it for other companies and other people, even like in my freelance work, and I can use those same skills applied to the work that I'm doing now. And that kind of goes along with the second button I picked up. They had extra buttons on the table one day, or new ones, I'm not sure. I don't know if you can read that, but it says, "You are where you belong." On the plane ride over, I was like double checking my email to make sure I really did register and got a confirmation, because I felt like walking up to that counter, they were gonna say, "Oh wait, like you don't belong here. Like you're not successful enough, or you don't have the skills that it would take to become successful. Like you're not good enough, basically, to come to Blissdom." And of course that was an irrational thought and not at all the case, and like I mentioned already, everyone there was super kind and humble and just wonderful people, and everybody dealt with imposter syndrome. Like I think half at least of all the speakers mentioned imposter syndrome and that they still feel it regardless of how successful they've become. These 2 buttons are probably my biggest takeaways, that I am enough and that I belong here. On the practical and business side, my biggest takeaway was that I need to hire a business coach. Hillary Rushford mentioned in her talk at one point, she had a financial person come in to her company and tell her, "You only have 2 months of expenses left." And the first thing she did was go out and hire a business coach, which in my mind would be like, if I heard I only have 2 months left, I'm gonna like hoard everything. But instead she went out and hired an expert coach, and in no time at all they completely turned around her business. But the fact that that's what she chose to invest in at that time really stood out to me. That, and then in talking with my 2 new friends, Callie and Whitney, both of them hired Allie Worthington as a business coach, and also Trainer Tanner. And I know there's lots of other business coaches out there that could be a different fit for budget and like what you actually need in a coach. But my takeaway from coming from the conference was definitely that's the next thing that I want to invest in, is a business coach who can help me not just with like the back end side of a business and like my business plan and all of that, but really like the mindset of a business owner, of like, this is really what I want to do. I want to inspire moms to have more joy and purpose in their everyday life, whether that's through an intentional wardrobe or making beautiful things for your house or doing do-it-yourself home renovation. Like all of that is with that one purpose of finding more joy in the everyday. So that's what I really want to do, and I'm looking now for a business coach who can help me get to the next stage. One of the final things I was going to mention, one of my favorite parts of the conference, was Allie's keynote at the end, where she mentioned her fierce faith mantra, which I will just read to you. Number 1 is show up, which is a really hard step to actually show up and be committed to this. It's scary to even say that you're trying to do your own thing and to have a business, but showing up is the first step. And then number 2 is be real. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. Number 3 is love others, because you'll never go wrong erring on the side of love. Number 4 is don't quit. We often think that if it's something we're called to do, or if it's something that God wants to bless, that it will be easy, but that's not the case. There's still struggle, even if it is what we're called to do and it is our purpose and our passion. And just because that's what God wants us to do doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. Show up, be real, love others, and don't quit. And that's what I've been reminding myself of this week as I get back to regular life and try to balance 2 kids and a family and our home renovation and all of that with creating content for you guys, which I love and enjoy doing so much, and writing and social media and all of that. Trying to find the right balance where I'm helping and serving you and also helping and serving my family and doing what I love and what I feel called to do. In a nutshell, that is Blissdom. I hope you enjoyed seeing this little snippet of what going to the Blissdom conference was like, and I hope that they do it again next year. Please do it again next year. And I hope that maybe next year when they do it again, I'll see some of you guys there, because that would be fantastic. It's so nice to meet some of you. I'm gonna give some shout outs down below for people that I met at the conference, like Callie, Whitney, Angel. I'm sure there's like a bunch more people, so I will post some links to them down below. Be sure to go check them out. And thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.